Welcome back to our special live coverage on Scripps News tonight. One of the key names you've heard mentioned again and again, especially today in this case in Fulton County, Georgia, is Fani Willis.
Yeah,
Former President Trump has launched plenty of criticism at the DA herself.
Yeah, she's the same official who has overseen what some experts are calling the most sprawling legal case against the former president. Jay Struberg answers the question, who is Fani Willis?
Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis is no stranger to big cases, although the one she's building against former President Donald Trump may be the biggest and most difficult of her career. Born in Inglewood, California in 1971, the daughter of John C. Floyd III, a founder of the Black Panther political party in Los Angeles, who eventually became a criminal defense attorney. Willis moved to Washington, D.C. when she was in first grade and lived there through her college years at Howard University. She received her bachelor's degree in 1992 and followed that with a degree from Emory Law School 4 years later. In her professional career, Willis spent 16 years as a prosecutor in the Fulton County District Attorney's Office, working on prominent cases like the Atlanta public school cheating scandal back in 2014. In that role, she oversaw more than 25 lawyers and worked on cases in all of Fulton County's 15 cities. Willis took a step away from the public service and entered the private sector in 2018, managing her own law firm for 2 years. In 2020, she returned to public service, becoming a chief magistrate judge of the county where she tried more than 100 cases. Later that same year, Willis ran for and was elected the first female district attorney for Fulton County. During her time as DA, she has made a name for herself prosecuting RICO, or racketeer-influenced and corrupt organizations cases. She has used that experience to pursue street gangs as well as the mafia. One of the more high-profile RICO cases she has brought is the 105-count indictment against the notorious Bloods street gang and against rappers Young Thug and Gunna. She now faces an uphill battle investigating the former president of the United States, a case that could come to define her career and the future of Georgia election law. David Wolf, a criminal defense attorney in the Peach State who has practiced law for more than 40 years, thinks Willis is up to the challenge.
She knows what she's doing. I've watched her develop over the years. She's a formidable trial lawyer. She knows the law, and she understands how to try a case.
And we have two litigators with us tonight who can help us walk through some of this stuff. Doug Burns is with us and Andrew Lieb. Andrew, let me start with you because we've heard from some of our guests tonight about how Fani Willis goes about prosecuting a case after she has built it. And some of that was laid out there in the package, like, getting multiple rappers in a courtroom all at once, getting yourself a little more latitude if you go with a RICO case. But some of that can bring attention. It can be effective. I imagine some of it can become a spectacle, which is not always very helpful. How do you assess her strategy?
Well, we haven't seen what's behind those 10 indictments yet. So it's really hard to delve into someone's strategy because anyone who's worth their chops as a trial lawyer, as a litigator, starts off with a statute. I heard in earlier packages people debating about racketeering. And if I was going to go into racketeering, I would look at 1614.1 through 1614.13 in Georgia's statute, and it defines racketeering activity. That's how you'll know. You have to match the facts to the law. That's step one. After you know that you know all the elements, you have to create a narrative, a story. See how all these piece together. Then you have to make a decision. Jack Smith, for instance, in D.C. took a decision to not indict the co-conspirators. Why did he do that? By doing that, you get a much faster experience. Why is that? You don't have to have an arraignment for all these people. You don't have to have evidentiary motions with all these people. It could make it a much faster case. Perhaps when we're seeing 10 indictments, and I'm guessing there's going to be 10 or more defendants that we're seeing on this, we're going to have a much more robust case, a much bigger story. But I would say to you like this, Chance, right now, to ask what the book is to just look at the cover of the book. No one's read it yet. So let's let Fani Willis tell her own tale. And then in years to come, we can tell the story of how Fani Willis made her decision, her strategy to do this case. Really, I liken a trial attorney to a puppeteer. I'm waiting for her puppet show and to see what they do, Chance.
very visual way to think
Geppetto.
about this. Yeah, exactly. I want to bring in Doug Burns here for a second. Doug, in today's discussion, we've been focused on, what this indictment says. We've been focused on everything that's happening in Georgia. One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, though, is that, there's some context to this, and that context is at least one other indictment, right, where there is a bit of overlap. I was doing a bit of light reading while I'm sitting here, since we have a bit of time, and one of the things that I was looking at was the January 6th indictment. There's a whole section on what happened in Georgia, what took place in Georgia. One of the things that I wanted to ask you about is how exactly, when there's overlap like this, really quickly, as we're looking at live pictures of the news conference.
It looks like Fani Willis is going to speak in just a minute, which we'll carry live.
Yeah, but Doug, how exactly does that overlap work, and do prosecutors kind of work in concert when there is overlap in two cases like this one?
We can argue it in two different directions. One is that since there's a section which is pretty elaborate in the federal indictment, the second federal indictment, then it's somewhat duplicative to bring it in Georgia. But that
it looks like we're losing Doug. Yeah, because what he's talking about is they can kind of work through their cases in their own way. And Doug, if we have you back, let me know. But Trump, his campaign, when they put out their statement tonight, essentially said there's something nefarious here about them working with the D.C. prosecutors. And I think we have you back, Doug. Is that nefarious?
Yes. Not necessarily, no. I mean, look, you have, as you say, you have a section in the federal indictment that covers this. Now you have Georgia. But I think the Georgia situation is going to be more sweeping, okay? I'll actually theorize a little bit about what I expect, even though my colleague's right. You have to see the indictment. But I think that this prosecutor is going to allege a fairly wide-ranging conspiracy with many, many members, maybe as many as, 8 or 9 or 10, et cetera, et cetera. And it's going to be a conspiracy to undermine the fair outcome of the election. And she'll, painstakingly try to prove that case, basically.
So just to let everyone know what you're seeing on the left-hand side of your screen, it looks like the DA, Fani Willis, once this has been through the clerk's office, she had said she will speak to the public. We didn't know that was happening tonight,
right.
But it looks like it may be happening tonight. And so as these folks are standing up there, they're just making sure the white balance is right and the mics are all good. So once she's out there, we're ready to roll, which, of course, we'll keep an eye on here. But Doug, what you just said there, though, if both you and Andrew think 10-plus people could be involved in this, perhaps, it sounds like that would have the effect of dragging this out a really long time.
Well, there's the big difference between, the unindicted co-conspirator situation that you saw or see in the second federal indictment. One could also make the somewhat sarcastic argument that the law tells us that conspirators are equally culpable. So if you feel strongly that they're all culpable, why wouldn't you indict them? But I expect this prosecutor will name other individuals. That's what I'm expecting to see, which creates a very interesting distinction between this case and that second federal indictment. And as you say, I mean, I don't like the argument that, they didn't indict them so they can get the matter to trial quicker. That's basically outrageous. I mean, if they're involved, then they should be charged.
Yeah. Doug Burns, Andrew Lieb, thank you so much. Folks, we're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we'll go live to that press conference so we can hear more about this indictment and what is contained within it. We'll see you here in just a few.